Hi there, friends. Welcome back. I hope you had a good time away from your computer screens. And we're going to jump right back in with a 50-minute or so session on rubrics. And for clarity, we here at Instructure call these enhanced rubrics because we used to have a non-enhanced rubrics. So forgive us for using that terminology. To you, I know this is just going to be rubrics. So we will understand how to navigate that rubric index space, how to organize your rubrics, and how to create a rubric, duplicate it, manage your list, even download and import rubrics, because some people like to use spreadsheets for that. How to attach rubrics, use them in SpeedGrader, and understand the student perspective when they're viewing rubric results. So firstly, we'll get into that rubrics space. You've heard me use the word index several times already, as in discussions index. Well, there is a rubrics index, and this is where we're going to start here this afternoon. So inside of your account here in your course, you're going to locate that rubrics space, which is right here, which is again hidden for students because it's for instructor use only. And when you come back here, you may see a rubric here, you may not, but rest assured all of your rubrics, once they are created, will be listed here. And you have ways to organize how those rubrics appear to you by selecting carefully on these arrows so you can reorder your rubrics. You can order them by total points or number of criteria, or whether they are currently in use for you or not, as in the case of this last rubric here. And each rubric also has a 3 dots menu. Up here at the top, you have a way to search. You also have a way to create a brand new rubric for yourself. Now, if you are thinking back to this morning and realizing, wait, didn't you show us a different way to make rubrics? You're right. I had initially shown you when we set up assignments that you could create the rubric from there. So think of this as a second option. If you, for whatever reason, you didn't make it directly from the assignment, you could make it from here and then attach it to assessment items. So we're going to explore just that second workflow. So if you'd like to set this up as a brand new rubric, manual creation is only possible from here. You'd go ahead and give your rubric a brand new title. You're going to determine if that rubric uses a scale, like 1, 2, 3, 4 points, or whether you're only using it to deliver written feedback. If you like those numbers, if you have scale turned on, um, labeled as being levels, like level 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4 points, and also determine how you want the rating order to appear: 4, 3, 2, 1, or 1, 2, 3, 4. And for I think many of us here, we want to use the rubric to grade. So you want to leave this on as scored. Now you have here in the criteria builder an option to draft your new criterion from here. So let's go ahead and click it just so we can explore the space. You'd give your new criterion a name, accuracy, communication, whatever you're wanting to measure as far as one aspect of the assignment, a description of that criterion, and then the total number of points possible that this criterion is worth to you. And you can make this however many points you want. When you enter in the total points, all of the points here listed for each rating auto arranges itself. You can modify the number of points earned for each level through the drop downs here and indicate those points. The ratings names also come in here by default, but if you don't like those terms, you don't have to live with them. So you can enter in your own description of what that is. And then you'll want to enter in a really good rating description. So what that means to you as an assessor. And you notice here as I keep moving up and down on the rubric screen that this little plus button appears. So this lets me create a new rating that appears between 0 and 1. So I can enter in new information for that rating here or remove extra ratings that I don't want. And if this happens to you, I've seen this sometimes when people make rubrics really quickly and they realize their ratings are out of order, you can reorder them using these 8 dots right here, like they're a handle on the criterion rating, like that. And as an option only, if you want to enable a range, this will let students know that any point value within the range counts for you as, in this case, exceeding expectations. If you give them 17, then it still counts for you as having exceeded whatever expectation you have here. Now, to be clear, you don't have to enable this. If I have this off, you can still type in a number like 17 or 18 and still have that saved in SpeedGrader. So I find that this checkbox here and the enablement of that is largely personal preference. So once you have some descriptions and a criterion filled out, click on Save. And if you ever have to go back and view the details, select on this arrow here to see the details about the criterion. You can also edit it directly here, remove it, access the 3 dots here to move it up and down if you have extra, or you can duplicate the criterion, which is nice because you can make an exact copy of that previous criterion and then just edit it. That's if you want to keep the same criterion ratings for your second criterion. And then you just keep on drafting new criteria. Now we can move criteria around. Keep on going until you have your rubric all laid out for you. And then you're going to want to at least save as draft. Now, when you do choose save as draft, it appears in your list in the draft state. It means you can't yet use this with students. It means you're intending to go back to it and fix it up. So if you have come back, say, from after your class and you want to go ahead and finish this up, you can click on it here and see how the rubric looks to you as of the present moment. And then to edit it, click on the 3 dots menu for the rubric, and you can just click edit and come back and finish it up. So if this is truly finished to you, click on Save Rubric, and that removes the draft status. So from this point forward, you could attach this to assignments of whatever flavor. Remember, you can even attach it to a graded discussion or even to a quiz. All right, so that's the creation of rubrics. Now, maybe down the road, I find that a rubric has lost its usefulness and I don't want to use it anymore. Take this project rubric here as an example. I can access the 3 dots here to archive it, which simply puts it in this archived space, meaning I won't be able to select for it when I try to attach it to something new. Because to me, it was helpful, but I don't want to use it anymore. And this is a step you'll need to take prior to being able to delete it. Now, other functions here include, we know what edit does. You can duplicate the entire rubric and make an exact copy of it. Maybe you want to dress it up for a different purpose. You can also copy this rubric to a different course that you're teaching in. So I can pick that other course from here and then click on copy. And then a copy of that rubric appears in that other course for me to attach to assignments in that place. All right, so let me give you a little time to work within the rubrics index. You can make a basic rubric for now. I think that's fine. So go ahead and work here, and towards the end of that time, we can take a couple of questions. All right, friends, let's open it up for any questions. Great question. How do you move to archive? So we'll take this calculus discussion rubric here, selecting on the three dots for the rubric. The last option here is to archive. Now this is actually in use, so it might not let me archive fully. Oops, that's the wrong function. Let's see. Oh, it did let me archive. This is a good opportunity to let you know if you have archived something by mistake, there is an unarchive function right here. And then Dr. Bell, great question. Yeah, it's going to be from a CSV, and we're about to cover that next. Yes, we're about to cover that next. All right. Any other questions out there regarding rubrics before we go into import of rubrics? I understand that's important.
No questions from in-person.
Okay. Thanks, Karen. All right, friends, I know you may have rubrics you have saved elsewhere and you don't want to type all that out again. I understand. This is where the import rubric function is really helpful. When you click on import rubric, you have a place to upload the rubric template that you have created so that Canvas ingests it and places it here. But it does have to follow a certain format. If you click on download template, you can take that CSV and put it inside of your spreadsheet program. Now, because we're all friends now, I have the same rubrics template you would receive if you downloaded it. So if anybody would like to view it, they can right here. So you can at least take a look at it. And then I also have here an example filled out for a project on exponential functions, which I'll make sure that everybody can view. And then I'll place it here in the chat because it can be helpful to see a filled out example so you can understand how to fill it out in better detail. So your rubric name goes here. The criterion name comes here. The description of the criteria is here. And then here is where if you want to enable the range, you would put true, otherwise don't put anything. And then the next columns have you entering in rating name, rating description, and then rating points. And then you would repeat those three columns, name, description, and rating points for each subsequent rating that you want to place in your rubric. So I actually have 4 ratings for this new rubric that I'm about to upload. So once you have your rubric set up in this spreadsheet, you would click on and then get a download of it. So there it is right there. And then I'll head back into Canvas and I'm going to drag that. See, here it is right there. And then it comes in as a draft like this. The total number of points and the criteria are here. And then right here, I can click and see how the rubric looks. And I mean, I flatter myself, but I think I did pretty good. So I have descriptions for each, points on each. I did turn on range for one. That's why you see ranges for this one, which is pretty much how the rubric looks inside of SpeedGrader 2. So you get a preview of that experience here. So once I've decided it's all good, I can go ahead and then in edit, make sure to hit save rubric to move it out of draft state. So now this rubric is pretty much ready to go. And by the way, and this will answer this new question about what's the point of doing this basically. Although I only have one rubric listed here, you could put multiple rubrics on the same spreadsheet. So I can have a function number 2 rubric and a function number 3 rubric and a function number 4 rubric all on the same spreadsheet. So I could, in essence, upload 5 rubrics at once into Canvas. And also it's a lot faster, as Sherry pointed out. So that's import of rubrics. And by the way, there is the opposite available. For whatever reason, if you wanted to say download your rubrics from Canvas, you could. So I check off the rubrics I want to obtain, and then I click download selected rubrics, and then I can store them in my SharePoint or in my Microsoft Drive. So I just have an extra copy of those rubrics just in case. So that's the import export function. Any questions about import export? Otherwise, I'll give you a little time to play with this function and maybe continue building up your rubric if you want. So let's take a couple of minutes to do that. All right, friends. Let me see if there are any questions I can answer. What do you think? Are you doing okay? Okay, I think we're doing okay. In person, are we doing okay? All right, wonderful. All right, well, we have here some great rubrics, but we want to put these rubrics to good use. We want these to be attached to assignments of various kinds. So now we're going to go over and review how to attach them to those assessments. And we'll start with assignments. So I'm going to open up one of my assignments from within modules here. Not this one, but this one. Now, once you have your assignment set up, so once you have it on this page with directions ready to go, You'll see here two buttons. One will say create rubric, one will say find rubric. This already has a rubric attached to it. So just to show you what those buttons look like, they will look like this. And since we already made a rubric, let's go over how to find it. We'll click on find rubric, which will bring you into a little view of the rubric index. And here you're going to select that specific rubric that you want to use. And then you would click on add to add it to your rubric, like so. If you click on this button, you can preview the rubric to make sure you added the correct one. You can also try to edit the rubric. I say try because if it's already been used to assess students, you'll get a warning message. Yeah, see, rubrics cannot be modified once used in more than one place. So you're warned this is going to create a new rubric since this rubric is already being used. In which case, you can go in and make your edits. Just be aware it's not the same rubric anymore after that. You can remove that rubric and find a new rubric through the magnifying glass here. And if you have not yet given this assignment to students, you'll be able to click this checkbox if you want to enable self-assessment. More on that later. I will show you here when you click on Edit Rubric, and this you should do whether you are trying to modify a rubric or not. If you have found that rubric, please go back into Edit Rubrics, as I've already done here, and please check off this box, use this rubric for assignment grading. Checking off this box ensures that Canvas does the math of adding up the points earned through the criteria to be the student's final grade. Now, to be clear, if you forget and you do not check the box, you can still use the rubric, so the language is a little misleading. What this does not do is add up the points for you. So if you're okay with that, right, just be aware you have to add up the points manually. If you would rather Canvas does the math, you have to check off that box, use this rubric for assignment grading. And then you can save the rubric. If your points earned on the rubric does not match the total points on the assignment, you will be warned, which is the message I got here. From my experience, I would recommend that the points match. Students find it confusing when the total points on the assignment and the points on the rubric don't add up to the same number. So I'm going to go ahead and do change, which doesn't change the rubric points, but it does change the assignment points. And that's how you can get that rubric and get it to work for you. Just make sure that you check off that box before you have students submit so that the math can be done for you. And if you have to replace that rubric, right here, you go to that magnifying glass or click on Find Rubric and locate the particular rubric you want to add from here, and then click Add. So that's how you can get your rubrics to be attached to your assignments. Let's take a look at discussions as a review from this morning. We'll take this discussion as an example. Unlike with an assignment, once you have your discussion set up like this, you do not see a nice friendly rubric add button. You will have to go to the three dots for the discussion right here and then choose. You're looking for show rubric. If you don't see show or add rubric here, it's most likely because you forgot to make it a graded discussion. But you can change that. Click on graded discussion here. And then once you save it and come back to that discussion menu, you should now see add rubric. Here, again, you can make the rubric from scratch right here, or you can find that rubric. So I'll demonstrate that again. Clicking on Find Rubric, I choose my discussion rubric. So I just clicked on the circle and then click on Add, and now it's ready for use. Finally, for quizzes, if you have short answer or essay questions on those quizzes, click on the quiz itself, and from the settings page, scroll all the way down, keep going until you locate the rubric area, where again, I know, I keep repeating, you can make the rubric from scratch or find one. Just be aware though, you can only add one rubric for any assessment item at a time. So one rubric for one assignment, one rubric for one discussion, one rubric for one quiz. And then you can look at those quiz essays in SpeedGrader and assess them there and give points there. All right. So let's take a couple of minutes to attach some rubrics to assignments, or maybe you're still working on your rubric.
May I ask a question?
Mhm.
I'm trying to edit a rubric and it will not let me change the points. It's display points. It no matter what I change it to, it changes it to whatever it wants it to be. So how do you change the point value for each rating level?
So if you go into edit, click on the edit criterion, you should be able to edit it right here.
That's what I'm doing. And I change it and then it changes it to something else. It won't let me change.
Let's see what that does for me. So I changed it to 10.
So I just changed one to 0 and it changed it to 24.
So you were still able to edit inside of the box, but it does not.
But it doesn't, it just changes it to some other random number.
Okay, I'm not sure then. I think we need to look at your rubric.
Is it because I have it set up the logical way, which is level 1 is the lowest, and level 4 is the highest. Is Canvas trying to make me do it the opposite of that?
No, let's look here. If I change it to level, no, this will still display as level, level one, level two, level three.
Okay.
Still have total points possible here. I'm not sure. We'd have to take a look at your rubric and see what's going on.
Lisa,
Okay. Well, I'll wait and do that in the question session this afternoon.
if
Right.
you want, also go ahead and send me your the URL and I'll look at it before then
The URL for that
for the course.
page?
Just for the
Oh,
yeah,
for the
you
whole
can just send
course.
whatever you want, whatever right at the
Okay.
top.
Yeah.
Lauren, Lauren, can you hear me?
Yes.
I got a problem. Can you check it seems to me that the integrations are not working.
Let's do this on a Teams call. Let's move over there. Go message me on Teams.
Okay.
Lauren, I have a request in chat for you to tell me your email. Outlook is not popping it up. Ah, thank you.
All right. Any questions I can answer? I think I've answered the question about finding saved rubrics. I think we're good there. Any other top of mind questions for you? I see a polite hand up. Karen?
I'm in the room. Sorry about the echo. We have a question about editing the individual points on a rubric criteria. Is there a way to easily change those numbers? So for example, we have an individual who has a rubric that has 3 levels and it's worth 5 points. But when you put in 5 points and that's only got 3 levels, the point value only goes like it distributes them. Is there a way to easily edit those besides manually touching every single one of them?
I think your only recourse is to manually touch each of them.
Okay. And in that same experience, when those rubrics were imported, they came in out of order so that the lowest was listed as the highest.
Right.
Is there a way to easily maneuver those besides dragging and dropping every single one?
Oh, you said besides dragging and dropping every single one. You could do this. Um, it does entail still some work. You could remove the rubric. If you haven't used it with students, it's fine. And then you can fix it on the spreadsheet and then re-import and see if that does the trick.
Thank you.
Mhm. And then showing how to flip, I assume you mean flip the criteria. So inside of edit for the rubric, if you're in the criteria builder, you see these 8 dots right here. So you can move the criteria order around. And then inside the criterion, which is what I think you're actually asking about, uh, you can move the individual ratings names around like that. And I need to take a look at it's the classes life. I'm struggling a little bit with seeing your screenshot there. Do you mean flipping it so that the 0 should be should be not the best answer, correct? Dr. Pruitt, I think this is your question.
Yeah, the example that Andrea shared is the problem that I was having in trying to edit. No matter what I did, it insisted on giving the lowest marks to the best responses and the best highest marks to the worst responses. And I couldn't figure out how to make it do what I wanted it to do.
Okay, Dr. Bell's saying she was able to do drag and drop. You could also try to rearrange your points. Um,
Yeah, it was the points that it would not let me.
oh, so you changed the points, it just wouldn't
I
say.
tried, no, it wouldn't let me change the points.
Oh, so you don't have any ability to change the points here.
No, no matter what I put in, it just replaces it with some random number.
The only way that I can see that that could have happened was if you adjusted the total points possible, but you said you didn't do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think we need to take a look at your rubric.
Okay. We
What's
can
going
save it for the question time
Yeah.
or Friday if it gets too involved.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right. I want to show you the self-assessment tool for students, which, to be clear, is an option only. If you're not comfortable with this, you definitely don't have to do it. So I did have a test student submit their hypothetical video from Studio, and I also turned on self-assessment. You see here that it's been grayed out for me because I can't turn it off. Um, so if you do want students to assess themselves on the rubric after they submit, you have to check off that box before students see the assignment. You won't be able to turn that on after students have submitted. So just to show you what that looks like as a student. So our student here submitted their video and they see their rubric. Here's their video here. And once they have submitted, they have a button called self-assess. Now, to be clear, because it's a good question, can I make this a due date, right? Like your self-assessment is due tomorrow. Unfortunately, no. There is no due date attached to submitting the self-assessment. Also, rest assured, they are really not grading themselves. It is themselves trying to process the rubric and giving you their own ideas as to where they think their work landed in the rubric. But you will be able to see what students gave themselves. So in this case, the student has already submitted. They clicked on the numbers because they were able to do that. And they can even enter in comments too. And then they'll hit submit. And then when you take a look at this in SpeedGrader, and SpeedGrader, by the way, is where you will actually view that student's work. In this case, that studio video. So right over here on the right, focus here. You can turn on that self-assessment here so you can see what the student thought their score should be. So it has this little subtle dotted line format to let you know this is what the student thought of themselves. Now you are free as an instructor and the expert to give them something different. So your assessment is outlined here in yellow, and your points are what sticks for the student's grade. So don't worry about that. Um, Other than that, though, using the rubric is quite easy. So I can click on that rating and the total points get allocated here. But there is also ability for you to change the points. So I can delete this and make this 3 or 4 or 2.5 because I can edit this. And over here too, you have a little speech bubble where you can enter in your comments related to that criterion here. So you can go through and see what the student thought and give your own input here, as well as comments. And once you have a complete checkbox here, you can hit Submit Assessment, and that will save the student's work, or rather, save your assessment as well as your comments, your points. And the points that are earned which is 17.34, once you hit submit, should be auto entered in here. As long as you have checked off that box, use this rubric for assignment grading. So now that I have saved that, there's the 17.34 out of 20. By the way, if you're wondering about this view mode, you might be. This is the default view of a rubric in SpeedGrader called Traditional, which gives you the full details of the description for each ratings level. And while it gives you all of that detail, also means you need a lot of space to display the rubric. If that bothers you, and that does bother some, click on the drop-down and choose a different way to view the rubric, which is a horizontal way, just focusing on the points for each of the ratings levels. Or you can have those points listed in a vertical format, which takes up less room, but also means you have less room to view the full rating description for each level. So that's how to use a rubric to grade in SpeedGrader and lets you see the self-assessment of the student. All right. And as for our last options here, we did go over SpeedGrader with checkpoints, I think, this morning, so we will skip over that. But I did want to make sure to show you how rubric scores look to students for sure. So I'm going to go back into my assignment here, and I'm going to show you how students see their grades. So I'm going to go ahead again, click on View as Student. I just clicked on the assignment so I can see my assigned points, so I can see how I did. If I want to see the rubric scores, the actual ratings levels you gave me, I can click on grades here. I can locate that item. So here it is. This is that studio self-assessment we just saw. Here's the points that I just earned. The blue dot, by the way, means I haven't yet looked at it. Like this is my first time to look at it. And right here is the rubric score. And in this case, I'm able to see two sets of scores because one is for my teacher's assessment, and one actually happens to be my assessment. And if there are comments enabled and entered, right, I can see those comments listed here for each criterion. So that's how students can see their rubric scores. One other place I did want to mention before we leave to give you a good break is actually inside the gradebook. Whenever you click on the menu for an individual assignment column, if you have a rubric attached to it, you have here two options related to rubrics. Bulk download rubrics lets you get a fully filled in CSV with everybody's rubric scores and assessments for each criterion, all on one spreadsheet. And you can bulk download all of those results here. And for anybody out there that prefers to grade and enter those grades on a spreadsheet and you want to enter them into Canvas through CSV, you can utilize import rubrics, which has you importing that rubric set of scores here so that the rubric scores become part of the Canvas gradebook. And then that's going to end our session on rubrics. Are there any last questions I can answer for you before you get a good break?
We do have a question from in person.
Hi.
She said something about clicking the box of total of the Rubik scores. She was from the assignment, so I can't find it. Could you go back to the setting where they click the box to do the assignment grading with rubric?
Yes. So do you see where my that yellow hand is on edit rubric? So when I click on it right here, there's that checkbox. Use this rubric for assignment grading. You just want to make sure you've got a check mark there. And that's what is going to tell Canvas to add up the points from the criteria for you.
And that setting is only if you access the rubric or edit the rubric from the assignment attachment, not if you're in the rubric's index page. Is that correct?
Correct. 100%. All right. I think that will do it for now. Let me go ahead and get you your badge and then some minutes to go and stretch your legs. And we'll pick back up with grading and feedback here in a few. Thanks.